Do you feel like you're stuck with your lap times and you can't improve? Do you compare yourselves to others online, you watch hot laps on YouTube and you just feel that I don't know where is the lap time? I technically do everything correct by the book, all my inputs are very similar, where is all this magical lap time, you ask yourself? You feel stuck and you feel confused. Well, I want to show you something interesting, a comparison between two laps that look very similar, yet there's over a second difference between the two. I recently did a SPA24 race on LFM with Jardir, Aiden and Valentin, and I haven't driven ACC for a long time. For over 2 months I haven't touched the sim. I was playing LMM Ultimate, and when I had to do a few practice laps just to get up to speed in the game again, the very first laps that I did felt quite awkward to me. I had very little confidence in the car, and just for a few laps I exactly felt that way, that I was a bit maybe not confused, but everything underneath me, I wasn't connected to the car underneath me, and I was trying my best to drive from the memory in the way I should, but it just wasn't clicking, right? And it gave me a great idea to make this exact video, to talk about how big of a factor is the confidence that you have in the car and how important it is to drive in an instinctive way, being connected to the car. Sim racers love data, but a lot of people focus almost too much on the data itself. They are still too disconnected from the process of driving, and they always feel a little bit disconnected from the car. It feels like they have to fight with it. It's almost tiny bit too much rotation, tiny bit too little rotation. The confidence in the car, and especially the rear end of the car, is never as high as they would like it to be. So what's the difference between high and low confidence? How does it look like? And how do you even gain confidence? For starters, I'll just show you the offboard of both of the laps. The top lap is the fast one, the bottom lap is the slower one, and just look how from the middle sector the top car is just gonna start gaining and gaining and gaining on the bottom car more and more and more. Also notice how both of the laps are quite similar. There is not that big of a difference between the two when you just look at basic car positions and the lines that are taken. Minimum speed through each corner isn't necessarily that much different, but the first car, the top car, is just gaining on the car consistently, ever so slightly, every single corner. Okay, so the top car finishes over a second ahead of the bottom car, but where is all the difference? Let's jump into analysis, and at the end, most importantly, let's talk how is it all connected to the confidence and how do you get that confidence. With the analysis, I'm gonna start with a slower lap in this slower replay. I did a 17.2 here. I did some mid-17s at the beginning of the session. This is like 6th lap in a run, so the tires are a bit more up to temperature and the pressures are kind of stabilized. Anyway, the main difference between a good driver and a great driver is how a great driver is being able to work the rear tires in the car and how he can confidently keep the rear of the car at the grip limit. This is gonna be the biggest difference that you see between good drivers and a great drivers, where throughout the entire corner on a great lap the tire is gonna be at the edge of the rear grip, while even on a good and clean lap like that, there's gonna be many situations like here with understeer that got caused because of under rotation on the entry. And under rotation on the entry happened because here I wasn't confident enough and I didn't have the feel yet to properly push the car on the entry and rotate it hard into the corner as much as the rear tire would allow. But just from the memory I thought, well, this is the correct line, yet the under rotation happened and those two combined caused me to understeer. There's gonna be tons of little details right here on the lap where I'm driving in a way where even though I'm attempting something line-wise, input-wise, that's not technically wrong, but I'm not confident enough to push that ever so slightly bit more on the rear tires and rotate the car a bit harder throughout the entry to the corner and a lot of the times on the exit as well. And I'm constantly fighting because of that the understeer that I'm causing myself as a driver here, because I'm not confident enough in how I can rotate the car, and the constant under rotation that happens pushes me into favor understeer that then I'm fighting for or I have to wait for. Or when I do want to try and push through oversteer a little bit to rotate the car, again that currently lack of confidence that I had in the car caused me to slide sometimes on throttle. For example, here on the exit from Stavelo, I just tried to be more aggressive on the throttle, but it was just too much, and the whole entry I was sliding. There's tons of situations in a lap like this where I'm just under rotating the car constantly. I don't have the confidence enough in the rear tires. And like I said, the big difference between good drivers and great drivers is gonna be that ability to drive not in the situations like that and cause those little problems where little understeer or oversteer occurs because they're not controlling their grip underneath them with enough precision. Let me show you some few more examples throughout the lap. Turn 1, I'm too scared to properly rotate the car very hard to the apex, and I'm gonna have to compensate for that with hard rotation on throttle on the exit. But on the exit, I'm also not confident enough to really rotate the car hard very early on the throttle, and that pushes me into the car, plowing a little bit to the exit, and then when it's time to fully apply the power out of the corner, I'm in a situation where the car just slides ever so slightly too much. It's not accelerating in a straight enough line, and that just kills off the speed. Entry to Le Con. I'm just not confident to rotate the car aggressively with the rear tires right here, and because of that I got pushed deep into the corner, and because of that I have to overslow the next one. Here I know that I can just initiate rotation by transferring the load to the front tires. I try to do it, but it's just not enough. I'm not confident to push it that ever so slightly more, but seemingly thinking that maybe it will be enough. I just happen to get stuck in the understeer and I have to go off the throttle multiple times to make the corner. Here I'm again not confident enough to rotate the car hard at high speed on the entry right here, and because of that I have to wait and wait through the corner to really get on the throttle. And when I do get on the throttle and now I want to continue with the rotation I had in the corner, I again do it in a tentative manner and I have to push through understeer. I have to wait for the car. Here, again, I'm not really confident enough to throw the car hard into the corner and lean on the rear tires, so I just take it a bit tighter, I downshift, and I ask the front tires here to really do the job for me, but I'm not really leaning on the rear tires laterally. Look at Plon. I overstabilized the car on the entry just ever so slightly too much. I again didn't lean enough on the rear tires. Because of that, I here have to wait, and only now I can go on the throttle because there's understeer. And even through the bus stop itself, the entry wasn't that bad, but look through here. I should be able to just rotate the car aggressively on the throttle, not by slamming the throttle straight away, but just feeding the throttle into the right point where the car nicely rotates on the throttle with traction control helping me, but I'm scared of it. And because of that, there's understeer, right? If you're scared of your car, if you don't have the confidence and enough understanding of what exactly the tire and the car underneath you should be doing, you're not gonna be able to extract the performance out of it. Here I'm showing it you on the replay, and I can tell you exactly what's happening and why, right? But if you don't have that understanding, you're never gonna be able to understand what's exactly wrong with your driving, even though when you're looking at it, it doesn't really look that bad. Maybe looks a little scrappy on some little details, but with the understanding you have so far, it seems like fast enough and good enough to be already there, right? But it's hidden in the details that are way less apparent than, for example, this clear understeer here, or the clear understeer that happened at the exit of Malbany here, right? Where you can clearly see in those two instances, there's a clear understeer that I'm fighting for. But everywhere else I'm showing you, there are tons of situations where the grip is just not utilized properly. Let me show you now that fast lap. What's the difference? How does it look in practice? What is the exact difference? Now I'm back in the other replay from faster lap. Literally like 12 laps later, regained the confidence back in the car. Remembered that I actually know how to drive. And put the decent lap together just before I jumped into my stint in the on the race day. So this is gonna be a 16-1. Let's look how that lap looks in comparison. Apart from the first corner was absolutely dog shit. Throughout the braking into Lecombe, I'm keeping on the brake deeper into the corner. There's such a little difference between the two. But if you feel in the force feedback and try to feel the car underneath you, you will feel that here the car is rotating on all 4 tires a lot more. It's yawing more, and it's rotating on all 4 tires more. And because of that, that corner, the next left-hander, is ever so slightly more open. I hear upshift to third because I know that while carrying higher speed, I am able to keep it in third with the engine delivering me enough torque. So here I can go hard on throttle and the car is still gonna be nicely rotating on throttle and accelerating hard enough. I'm being able to keep that corner high speed and transition all the way to the left. And here this corner, I again do very similar off throttle to just rotate the car into the corner and load up the front tires, go straight away back on the throttle, and here you see I have more confidence. I'm able to convert that rotation that I initiated on the entry to the corner and continue being on the limit of the rear tires with confidence on the throttle to just keep with that rotation, and the car magically turns in. But it's not magic, it's just working all 4 tires so much more efficiently. Here throughout the entry, I'm leaning on the rear tires right now so much deeper into the corner, and I'm still keeping the brakes deeper into the corner, and I'm being able to follow a tighter radius deeper into the corner at a higher speed. Then I go straight away back on the throttle, and you see that I don't slam it straight away to the 100%, but I do it just enough so with the help of traction control, I rotate the car on throttle and I don't go into that understeer. Right here, the car even goes into a little snap of oversteer that I have to correct, but rather than waiting for that understeer, I'm working the rear tires and I'm dancing with them to rotate the car and get it to the right hand side of the track as quickly as possible without really sacrificing forward acceleration. Then look how much more confidence I have to just throw the car into the corner here and just lean laterally on all 4 tires and just let it coast all the way to when I go on the throttle. So much more speed carried into the corner rather than asking only front tires for rotation. Here I'm just leaning on all 4 tires at high speed and letting the car carry that speed through the corner, and that's only possible because I am so much more confident with how I'm working the rear tires there, and I'm not scared of the car. Into Puong as well, look how there's a very subtle rotation that happens throughout that whole entry all the way to this moment. Because of that, I don't have to wait with the throttle anymore. I can go almost straight away back on the throttle and the car beautifully rotates throughout the entire corner. It almost seems like car magically has more grip, but it's exactly same conditions. It's exactly the same setup. Nothing has changed. It's only very, very little timing of inputs that was different. The rear tires were worked in a different way. The car was rotated into the corner in that ever so slightly different way, and because of that I was able to go on the throttle so much more earlier. Okay, so I showed the examples, but what the hell do I actually need to do to get the confidence? How do I connect myself with the car? It all really comes down to the way you practice, but you have to practice in a way that's actually useful and efficient practice. It cannot be just repetition, repetition, repetition. What many people do, in my opinion, wrong, is that they just see something online and they're trying to do that, right? But they're doing it in that senseless way. They just trial and error, but that trial and error is just like, you try something, but they don't put enough thought into why whatever they did was wrong. They just try and error and repeat and repeat and repeat, but they never really learn why whatever they did was wrong. They never develop any feel themselves to what actually is right, what's wrong. They just try to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat, but they're not really certain what actually is the right way to go. They saw how it was done, but in the heat of the moment, they're not being able to execute that correctly. They don't have a feel for it. They never really put enough thought into what the car underneath them is doing. What you need to do is practice in a way where it's also gonna be like a trial and error, but it's gonna be more that you know what you're trying and you understand what the error is, rather than just trying whatever and then if there is an error, just abort and don't try it again. You have to try something different, and you know, I'm trying this just to see how it works, and you're getting some response from the car. And you do it over and over again, but not just doing the same thing, you're just trying different things. And you're developing an understanding of, you do something with the car, you ask it to do something with your inputs, the car does something behavior-wise. And over time, with that kind of practice, you develop instinctive feel for, I want the car to do something, that means I have to do that exact thing. And you don't no longer have to do like a calculation in that very moment. Oh, I have to rotate the car in that exact way, so this is gonna be exactly the throttle I need, because you just at the moment calculated. No, you just have almost in the back of your head like a lookup table that you instinctively go to without thinking. And you want to do something with the car, you just instinctively do that. And that way you build that connection with the car underneath you. And many people never do that. They just do repetition after repetition after repetition. They have telemetry, they look at other laps, but they just try to repeat that. And that's not the way to go. It's a bit too senseless. And there's not enough done to become yourself an active member of the whole driving experience. They're too much of a passengers. And because of that, they're never fully confident in what the car underneath them is actually capable of doing. When they're not pushing enough, they're just leaving time on the table. When they're pushing too much, they're not precise enough and they're not confident enough to know when the car is really gonna break loose to be precise enough with control of that grip loss. When you're a driver that is actively aware of the driving process happening, where you instinctively, it's not necessarily consciously at the very moment, but instinctively, because of the right practice, you decide, I want to load up the car in a certain way, I want to rotate the car in a certain way. That way it's gonna fill you with confidence, because you ask something to do it, you instinctively know what to expect, and whatever that happens, you straight away know how to correct it. Because you asked for a lot of throttle, you straight away also are expecting that potentially there's gonna be too much rotation, but you know how much you asked, so you're also kind of expecting by how much you potentially have to back off again if there's gonna be too much rotation, right? And you practice like that, dancing with those rear tires, and you're gonna get it wrong. But that's part of practice, and that's the part of learning. And you need to dance with that rear end of the car, and it doesn't have to be only in ACC. This whole guide isn't only necessarily ACC specific. I just use it because I recently had a race there, and I had a cool comparison that I could do, where there was a lap with very little confidence and a lap with very high confidence when I was able to push. But this can be used in any sim, and in every different sim is gonna be different in terms of what the actual input is gonna look like. But the theory behind it and how you're gonna approach it mentally, it's gonna be the same. And in my experience, that also makes the whole sim racing so much more enjoyable for me. And many people in real racing and in real driving enjoy that connection that you have with the car. And obviously in sim racing it's a lot more difficult to get that. You're not sitting strapped to the car. The way you can connect with the car is very limited. So you have to do almost like that mental jump from only seeing it and only feeling it for force feedback to instinctively actually feeling it underneath you. But it can be done, and in my experience it makes sim racing so much more enjoyable, where you are able to extract out of, be it a simulated car, but still extract performance out of it to your best ability and to car's best ability. And it makes the whole driving so enjoyable, where you are able to, in those few magical moments, just get it so right that it just cannot be done any better.